Hey Pretty Girl Club, today I'm going to talk about how African American fraternities promote black male degeneracy. This is yet another flaw that we see in African American culture. If you look at fraternities like the Qs, you can see that they promote things like heavy drinking, they promote things like picking women up and assaulting them, and they also promote things like somehow pedestalizing being able to eat women out as if it's some sort of sport. I've noticed that there's a pattern in the African American community where sex is viewed as a sport. Now, I will say that that is true for pretty much all ethnicities when it comes to men, when it comes to non religious men. A lot of guys view sex as a sport, but I feel like black men and black fraternities in particular take this to another level. If you look at some of their hazing practices and some of their initiation practices, they involve things like heavy drinking. They involve things like pushing guys down and assaulting men who get into the line of your stroll. And, it promotes violence like, oh, if you're strolling and then this guy bumps into you, you should punch that guy in the face. And I don't want to hear any black men coming on my channel saying that I am somehow stereotyping them when you guys promote and thirst over Divine Nine fraternities and sororities, and you thirst over the types of cultures that they promote. Let's talk about colorism, texturism, and featureism when it comes to black males. We all know that the Qs, the purple and gold fraternity, they are associated with dark-skinned, unambiguous men, kind of the rough and tough, rough and tumble, I guess toxic masculine is what I would call it, because I don't think that eating out as many women as possible, I don't think that's masculine. I think that that is a risk for disease. And then we have the kappas and the alphas. And let's talk about the alphas. It's funny how their name is called alpha, similar to alpha male. And the men in this fraternity, they're often of a lighter complexion. They're often mixed race. They're often men who have a multiracial background, and those are considered the alphas. So I'm not sure what unambiguous black men think of that. I'm not sure if they've ever noticed that. But the whole colorism, texturism, featureism argument, I don't want to hear anybody complaining about that when these types of fraternities have been around for hundreds of years. No one has abolished them. No one has cared about changing the narrative when it comes to these types of organizations. And now let's talk about HBCUs. Usually these fraternities are promoted the most at HBCUs. HBCUs are supposed to be institutions for higher education where African American people are bettering themselves in their communities, but they are promoting organizations that do things such as hazing men, kind of teaching young black men that in order to be initiated or in order to be manly or in order to be a part of a brotherhood, you must go through violence. You have to get paddled, you have to get burned. The Qs, they have those burns on their chest. So you have to get treated essentially like a slave in order to maintain membership in one of these organizations. I'm sorry, but I thought the slave days were over, but apparently they're not for Omega Psi Phi fraternity. Suffering through things like abuse, being pressured into having sex with as many people as possible, and being pressured to abuse your body with as much alcohol as possible, this is a part of the black male degenerate culture that is promoted in African American fraternities. And I don't care what anybody thinks about me saying that, because we all know that it's true. Not only this, but I've noticed that a lot of these fraternities, although they say that they support the community, and I'm sure they have scholarships and things like that, but I personally have not seen as many fraternity males, black fraternity males. I haven't seen as many of them become above average. In fact, if you look at enrollment in college in general, black women are far outpacing black men when it comes to getting educated, when it comes to getting out of the hood. And there are all kinds of areas where the black women have exceeded the black men when it comes to like the incomes that they're making and the opportunities that they have. So you would think that the existence of these fraternities and sororities and these HBCUs that have been around for hundreds of years, you would think that they would have made even more of a difference. And I'm not saying they haven't made a difference, I just think that it's not as substantial as people thought it would be. I feel like The ones who do things like hazing and the ones who do things like discouraging you from actually studying and encouraging you to drink or to beat up a guy who gets in your stroll line. So you're telling me that you could potentially go to prison because of a stroll. You're telling me that you are now about to drop out of college. You're about to flunk out of college because you wanted to do a step show where you were stepping like a professional. I mean, you literally could have been cast in Stomp the Yard as a professional stepper, but instead you are flunking out of medical school so that you can show off and you can lick someone's box. Wow, that is classy right there. That's high value right there. Oh, that's definitely a high value alpha right there. I remember when I went to an HBCU, some of these black men were literally flunking out of classes on purpose so that they can attain membership in an HBCU. Other black men were taking extra semesters, paying extra tuition, and staying in school for longer than necessary, not going out and getting a real job or anything. They wanted to stay in school so they could pledge, so they could stroll on the yard and look cool in their purple and gold, or look cool in their red and white, and walk around with their canes and their masks on and have all the girls looking at them. I've noticed that in the African American community, the need for validation and the thirst for validation is so heavy to the point where people will literally give up their futures, risk diseases, and risk going to jail so that they can fight, so that they can rep for their organization. You know what that kind of reminds me of? Kind of reminds me of gang violence. You have to get jumped into the organization. You have to have all these people beat you up just so you can become a member of it. You participate in all of these degenerate behaviors such as fighting. You participate in things that could lead to you going to prison. And you do all of this so that you can rep your colors and feel like you are cool and feel like you actually accomplished something. And unfortunately, I've been to a lot of black events, like black professional events or just black events around the city, and I see these older guys who are parts of fraternities and stuff like that. And a lot of these men never actually accomplish anything greater in their lives than being a part of ABC fraternity. And so you've got these dusty, old, bald-headed, yellow teeth-having, beer belly-having fat dudes strolling as if that is somehow supposed to impress me, as if that is somehow supposed to entice me, as if that is somehow supposed to be a symbol of status. And this is where the black community gets it wrong. It's because a lot of people in the black community like to major in the minors. So we are professional steppers, but we don't own any businesses. We are really good at drinking a lot, but we don't own any actual companies that sell the drinks. We like to buy clothes with the fraternity colors on them, but we don't own a lot of the clothing companies. And then I see people complaining about things like systematic racism and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that that stuff doesn't exist, but I am saying that if you're so mad about it, maybe you could have spent more time fighting against it or building an economy of your own or doing something to where you and other black men like yourself can have a higher position in society, as opposed to coming online and calling women adjustable sixes. I'm not quite sure how that builds your community. I'm not quite sure how that empowers younger black men. I don't think that misogyny or bullying other young black men into being a part of your organization or burning men with iron, I'm not sure how that's going to help build your wealth. I'm not sure how that's going to help your sons and daughters. I'm not sure how that is going to protect you. Going around and licking so many boxes that you are spreading STDs, not sure how that is going to help anyone. Anyway, what do you guys think about this? Have you ever noticed this degenerate culture that is perpetuated by fraternities? Let me know in the comment section and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.